Please enjoy this audio-visual presentation of me reading my Writing Research Identity paper for English 101. I'm Anna Robinson. Usually, I am drawn to that which is abstract. Abstract art, style, and music are what grab my attention. However, when it comes to writing, abstractness is part of what repels me from the activity the most. On one hand, I enjoy the simplicity of non-abstractness in other subjects, such as those which require memorization or applying steps to achieve a specific result. Unfortunately, writing has never been my favorite due to it being right in between. It is hard to explain that feeling I get, comparable to when I see a Venn diagram, and I imagine how caged in the items in the intersection must feel. It has never sat right in my head to figure out how to bring the creativity that writing calls for while also following a certain expected guideline. It's almost like how society will tell you, be yourself, but not like that. Conversely to my opinion on writing, I love reading. I'll never be too loud about my distaste for writing. I don't want to dissuade others. In fact, I love reading other people's writing. And sometimes, if I'm honest, if I find a text enjoyable, I might have a thought for maybe a second that I would like to write something similar. For example, when I read a book like Twilight or Harry Potter, I think it would be so much fun to create a world and characters of my own design. But alas, without even trying, I know I would stare at a blank page for too long, if not forever. For me, knowing where to start is the hardest part. It leads to procrastination and even anxiety. I could probably find the words to create a scene or describe a character, but beyond that, finding a way to relate characters to their environment and to each other is where I get lost. I know enough about writing to express my opinion or report on a fact, so when I am asked a question, there is no hesitation. I can instantly start writing to provide a direct answer. But once a text calls for a certain zeal or format, I am in decision paralysis. When I think about starting to write a paper, questions circle my head. Is what I put in the first paragraph appropriate for the first paragraph? Am I jumping in too deep too soon? Am I setting myself up for a good draft? Am I putting what should be in the conclusion in the introduction? How do I get into what I want to talk about without talking about it too much? Or too much in the wrong place? Where's the right place? Before I have even written a word, I want to take a nap. Outlines have never seemed to help me much either. Possibly, I have yet to have any luck with them. I believe my issue is, often I don't know what I want to write about until I start writing. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The story or the outline? See how I find writing to be abstract? Outlines are said to be the framework for a story, but where is that material for the framework coming from? I would argue the story. This may come as no surprise from what I have already stated here so far, but I would say my experience with writing is relatively minimal, as in I have spent most of my life avoiding it. Sometimes it has come to extreme cases of missing assignments and failing classes. When I see a paper is due, the whole flight, fight, or freeze cycle begins. I am suggesting that perhaps my past with writing correlates to my past social patterns. For most of my childhood, I was an only child, and I didn't attend daycare or do many sports. School was my only opportunity to be with my peers my own age. So, this could explain why I was a quiet child. I would often be labeled as shy. I wouldn't argue this when the label came up repeatedly, but truly, it never resonated with how I felt on the inside. I didn't feel shy, or I should say I don't feel shy now as it still comes up to this day. Instead, I just take a lot of joy in being a listener. When I am in a group of people, I have more fun listening to them talk. I find I'm rarely ever the one doing most of the talking. I don't even really like to text. Sure, I'll tell my friends and family stories or instances that I find interesting or important. Or at least I try to, because often my boyfriend says, "You don't tell me these things," when I tell him about an event that night that admittedly I had known about for weeks, or it could be a fact that would have been helpful for him to know much sooner. Just like with my communications and my relationships, with writing I am learning to push forward. It's not so hard when you try. Well, it is at first, but it gets easier. And I have stories to tell and people who want to hear them.